Hey everybody, what's up? Time to do the final internal parts update for this gun, which is going to be the firing pin, associated parts, which is the firing pin spring, and then this, I think it's part of the firing pin block assembly right here. Also in the background, they're doing something in the neighbor's house, so I apologize for that in advance. This is a very simple thing to do. I will say all the parts are under tension, and I am not going to replace the extractor this go around, but it may be something I look at later. I mean, it's going to be something that needs done anyway, but I digress. Now that your slide is apart, you're going to have two roll pins. Now you're going to need a punch, a very precise one. This is the one we're going after right here, this guy. This one here is for the extractor, right? So we're going to knock this out. This and your firing pin are under pressure, spring tension. So we got to be very careful. But first step is knock out this roll pin. Now it is a roll pin. I gotta do it off camera, I can't reach that far. I strongly encourage replacing these. You can get them on HK parts, or you can call HK customer service directly. It's always good to replace them. You can reuse it, but wouldn't necessarily do it if you don't have to. Okay. So I haven't extracted it all the way and everything's loose. It's good enough for me. So we're going to take this part out here and see how that looks. Hold on. Camera's going to go. Alright. That will be replaced by a very similar looking guy. And there's a spring associated with that, which has to come out. There we are. Came out alright. And then drop out your firing pin assembly, which doesn't look too bad. I mean, it's worn, it's dirty, but it's not too bad. So your next step is going to be take all the pieces you just pulled. Oh, it's sticky. You can tell whoever shot this before me, between the grit inside all the nooks and crannies of this gun and the stickiness, that he shot cheap steel cased ammo. I know a lot of people are going to be like, there's nothing wrong with steel case ammo. The powder, the residue left over, is very, very sticky, and it gets all up in your gun. So why I just cleaned this off, I have no idea, but that's how dirty it was with the spring. It's still pretty sticky to the touch. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean out the firing pin chamber, or channel, whatever you want to call it, which is going to be a little difficult. So I've enlisted the help of some Q-tips. You want to be careful with Q-tips because they leave behind some residue. You also want to make sure that, Marca. You want to make sure this is a dry cleaning process. You don't want to be spraying a whole bunch of stuff in the firing pin channel, and you really just want to keep it as clean as possible. One of the easiest things to gunk up is the firing pin channel because of how sealed it is. And when you lubricate the new parts, you don't want to over lubricate them. You just want to lubricate them enough to get the job done. Very, very light coats, which I will demonstrate here shortly. Okay, I'm pretty satisfied that that's as clean as I'm going to get it. You don't have to get too far gone when cleaning this, but definitely not a bad idea. First thing I'm going to install is the firing pin and the spring. This is the new generation firing pin, and this is the new generation spring. What I'm going to do is very lightly coat with oil this part. If you look at the part that came out of the gun, the contact areas are very clear. So what I'm going to do is lubricate those areas very lightly, just so there's a sheen. If you watch any of the other install videos I've done, that's pretty much how we're going to do it. I'm going to take a paper towel or an old t-shirt or something like that, dab it with oil, take the part and just rub it around in there, giving it a very, very light superficial coat. All this coat is for is to work into the metal and ensure it doesn't rust. This part has a hostile environment coating on it, and you saw the other one wasn't rusted, so this gun's probably had some sort of ridiculous untold amount of ammunition through it. She's been ridden hard and put away wet. This spring, it's a firing pin spring. I wouldn't over lubricate it, just a very, very easy, gentle coat. Again, you don't want too much lubrication in your firing pin channel, because that may even be too much on the firing pin there. Just a little bit. So you have that nice, even sheen, very light. You can barely tell that it's lubricated. Reinstalling this into the firing pin channel. Okay. There's a notch on the right hand side. That's exactly how it has to get fed in here. So drop it in like that. Keep it as straight as possible with the notch on the right hand side, and set it down, because the rest of the install is going to be from the top anyway. Now this piece I'm not so sure you have to oil. I will again very lightly oil it. Very, very lightly. Super light coat. Now a lot of people, if you're studious or observant, are going to look at the parts that came out and see the parts going in and say, wait a minute, this spring on the older setup is larger. Well, this has a nice little cup for that spring to go into. So we're going to feed it in from the top, like so. Now the idea is going to be, you want to position this piece like that. Okay, with that cut out in that direction. Alrighty? Because this flat part is retained by the key in this piece when it's in that direction. So you're going to want to push it in, drop this feller in there, oriented correctly. Kind of gonna have to play with it a little bit. There we go. And it's back in there. You want to push this guy back in there and get this pin pushed back in. Once you get your pin back in there flush, your assembly's back together. Function tester. Now this is going to be interesting because I don't think I have a pencil anywhere, but if you have a Bic pen or a pencil, preferably a pencil, because if you do it too many times with a pen, it will puncture the back and start bleeding, so you have ink in there. Alright, well, it dry cycles just fine. Let's see if I can find a pen here. Well, I tested it off camera and it works just fine, so good to go. She's 100% ready to get into it. I might replace the extractor spring, and there's a small kind of rubbery plastic piece in there, but this gun's good to go now. Very happy about that. Next mods. What? I thought it was over. Next mods are going to be the threaded barrel and the recoil spring assembly for the threaded barrel, the sights, and I'm contemplating a few other things, but I'll get into those if I decide to do it. But there she is. She's all set. Very happy. And it's good to have those updated parts. I will say that they said that this old assembly is prone to breaking from dry fire. It looks fine to me. I mean, I'm okay with it. Looks good. But I'm happy that it's updated. So now I have the current parts. You can't even get these anymore. Can't even get the old school firing pin. So there's that. Thanks for watching. I know it was kind of a a basic video, and the lighting isn't too great. But there it is. Appreciate you watching. Take care of each other, stay safe, and support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America.